Yeah, we're live.
Is it up? Okay. Done. So, welcome guys, and Team Energy brings to you every week people from diverse age groups so that we can listen and learn from many individual experiences. So, this Wednesday, for our upcoming evening session, we have Dr. Anuradha Dutta. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, Anuradha Dutta, ma'am, is a retired professor of Department of Political Science, Guwahati University. She greatly believes that there is a great need to think towards changing the perceptions around the aging and about how we can make the infrastructure in our society more elder friendly. So today we have Anuradha ma'am to share her experiences and also the experiences she had received throughout her journey to share with us. So ma'am.
Thank you. And I'm grateful to you for calling me over to talk about my experience. So basically, what I want to talk about is about the old age care, in particular, and how youth can help. And as you all know, at present, when you look at the population, we know about the youth being the biggest portion, but still, in comparison to 2 decades back, the longevity of the people in general in our country also have increased. As a result of that, we have a lot of old people, but accordingly, if you go through, I mean, from my experience, what I can see, the culture and the social system has changed. As a result, there are a lot of places in which actually the men and women both of the old age, they are not very happy or they are not very comfortable in their day-to-day life. For example, as you all know, you must be all knowing about the old age rules and regulations which were initiated by United Nations. They basically wanted to form the rules depending on the social system as well as the culture of the individual country. And then as an Indian, we all know that in our country, I mean, for me especially, till our youth, the society had no problem about the old age people because they were very much a part of the family. In those days, we used to have joint family in particular. As a result, actually, it is the eldest husband and wife, that is the man and woman, are the chief of the family, and they used to take part in all discussions and all participation. In fact, the society or the family members used to go along with their advice and whenever necessary. But as you know, the situation has changed now. It's not possible. It's not that they just walked off, but it is not possible for a big family to live together. As a result of that, people had to get out of the family, take their separate houses, either for their jobs or for any other work. And so most of the time, actually, the mother and the father are being left behind in the family. And there are times, say in 70s or 80s, as I joined in the university in that particular period, I had my mother-in-law as well as my aunt-in-law with me. But in those days, in spite of the fact that I was busy preparing the lessons for the university, looking after my 2 children, going in and out of the house, but my in-laws were never ever unhappy. One, they used to go to a namghar adjacent to our house, and two, we had lot of guests over because in Guwahati in those days there are not many hotels or any other places to stay in. So people used to come and stay in the relatives' house. No doubt, we had lot of, work to do, but we had a very happy house meeting all the people together. So those were the days, and so they never felt lonely. They used to do their own work, go to the Namghar, come back, and there was absolutely no problem. Gradually, when it came to my days, actually, I was busy, doing my work, and my children were small. And by the time my children actually join their professional courses, and my son has to go out of the country. And most importantly, 10 years back, my husband died. As a result, I felt lonely living in the house. But actually, to be very frank, I didn't have much of a problem. Only thing I was, because I had my friends and colleagues in the university, I had a lot of work to do. But when you look at that period, and particularly now, if you look around my neighborhood, because after my retirement, which is more than 10 years, I find that it is very, very difficult to develop anything in common in our neighborhood. We usually do everything individually, for which I'm not used to. But fortunately for me, I had many other outlets. For example, I love to read books. I love do gardening. I actually wanted and tried to do some social work at one time. And as a result, even now, I can keep myself busy. But I had my school friends, a lot of my school friends are here who are of my age, and they actually feel very, very lonely because we'll talk about a closed door society. Nowadays, the neighbors hardly opens their door to say hello, not because of locked in, but I'm talking about the time earlier than that. So I decided that we should have a great together of our friends. So I have 12 of my class friends from Jorhat, where we studied together in the school. After a long gap, we met together. And as a result of that, what is happening is we meet often, we talk quite frequently, and as a result, things are much better. But what I want to talk is about, in general, about the people of our age. As you know, as you grow older, you are actually both physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially. Actually, you become much more weaker. I think these are the reasons, because physically, our women, when they are at a particular younger age, they never had any time for themselves, whether you talk about village or you talk about the city. The women who are mostly housewives, they never used to have time to go for a long walk because their children have to be ready and sent to school and their husband go to office. They never had time for doing any exercise because that was not in those days. People never used to talk about any kind of exercise. As a result, what we find is that physically they have different kind of pains in the body at this time of the day. And as a result of that, what is happening is they are feeling sick. And if they have arthritis, they have a lot of other illness along with that. And another thing, what is very prominent is that housewives are not financially independent. I don't know exactly the statistics, but if they, unfortunately, they have lost their husbands, they either have to do find out some way to earn, or they have to depend on their children, which is not a very, I'm not saying that children are not good, but what I'm saying is, I mean, they don't feel like asking or bothering their children. As a result, that is also another way. And thirdly, I think there are a lot of people in Assam where they love to read books. I mean, the people of our age who have now a lot of time. So what we are lacking is the neighborhood library. I will not expect the youth to do it. I'll expect us to help the youth with the kind of books we have in our home. There are a lot of people who have a lot of books. Can we actually try and introduce the idea of neighborhood library, which will, help a lot of people. I have 2-3 neighbors who would come to my house to read the book, to borrow the book. So I thought that that can be one suggestion which I can pass on to you, and you can give us some idea how to start and how to go about. Because in other countries, we see that there is a library for children as well as parents, as well as grandparents. Everyone can walk in and out of the library whenever they want to. And other than that, another thing, what is lacking for the old people to people to have somebody to take care of them. So usually the people who are all alone, they need some help. There is no doubt that there are some NGOs, but I'm sorry to say the kind of training given to these young girls to look after actually is not sufficient. And more than that, there are a lot of people who cannot afford to pay that salary. As we know about the other countries like Canada or USA, excuse me, where actually government sends helpers to the senior citizens' house. They work for 1 hour free of cost. But if they want for more time, then they have to pay. I mean, that is one way I know about it from one of my relatives. But what I want to say is this: we need a lot of people who are properly trained and whom can be actually subsidized. Because I understand if somebody spends the whole day with a person, we have to look after their interests too. So can there be any kind of subsidy on the part of the government with the taxes we have been paying till now to support somebody paying half and regularize them by way of the government people? So that is one thing. And another thing, I want to talk about the old age home. When we talk about the old age home, unfortunately, the few old age homes I have seen in Guwahati is actually, frankly speaking, depressing. It looks like, I mean, I'm sure there may be many other which are better. I do not know about them. But when you look to the old age home, the ones I have been to, people are not happy. There is not a proper place for them to sit down all together or enjoy. Of course, there is a namghar for them in one of the old age home. But other than that, in order to create something which is more happier and where people are better off, at least they can forget about whatever is happening in their life for the time being and enjoy the time. I do not know. In this case also, I will request you all, if possible, some of you may be knowing about it and some of you may be visiting them also, but if you can give us some suggestions, we'll not mind being a part of it, but if you can give us some suggestions how to improve. Because when you go outside the country and when I'm not comparing or I'm not suggesting that we should have exactly what they are having, but I want to say that with our limited resources, with the local materials what we have, is it possible to organize something which is more open? It's, full of, it doesn't cost much to bring up a garden where also people who live there will be interested in looking after the gardens, get involved. But I know very well throughout my years' experience that it is very easy to talk, but it is very difficult to materialize. What I'm trying to say is what is in my mind, and I'm always ready. I mean, though I am old, quite old now, but I'm always ready. If you take any initiative, we actually plan to do some kind of improvement. I also have come across one boy and a girl who have been doing a very good work in one of the old age home. One thing, that one old age home should be airy. It should have some kind of atmosphere where there are people can live peacefully, not depressed, not shedding tears, talking about their old life. There should be provision for some kind of music, some games, and whatever. You all know better how you can improve that particular situation. Otherwise, also, I think after 60, people are senior citizen. And of course, the government is giving a lot of facilities. I'll not say lot, few facilities, either for to travel in a low cost and to give some kind of opportunities if you are in a line or something like that. But I think we need much more. It is not very safe for people like us to walk on the road. Even if we want to go for a morning or an evening walk, it's not safe. I'm not only talking about the people who roam around, I'm also talking about the cars which go without any control, with a lot of speed. And in addition to it, when you look at when you go outside, I think it is not very difficult to person who uses a wheelchair to climb up into the transport bus. That minimum facilities can be done in a very easy way. And I think that is very important, who are physically challenged, who are actually not being able to walk and use the wheelchair all the time. I think we can make it a better world for them if we can make them, if it is very possible to be mobile under different circumstances. And I also think in any kind of queuing up, actually people should have some kind of, would be some kind of respect for the, particularly for the older generation who are not well. I know there are a lot of people, lot of young people I have come across who are very helpful, but it is not a general attitude. So what I personally believe is that in school there should be some kind of socialization, because helping the youth cannot be forced by the law. Helping the youth cannot be forced by parents or anybody. It has to be socialized in the minds of small children, so that when they grow up, they develop it as their particular feature, where they enjoy helping other people. Because helping your old parents or other people, I think you can have a lot of happiness. So it's very important that the children should be socialized by many different ways. In school, then why is it important? Then why they should help them, and how actually people can, younger people, if once it is being socialized, I think when they grow up, they are bound to take that up. And that is that the kind of feelings for the older people, whoever it may be, that can make a lot of difference to that of the old generations. So I personally feel that world around the old people feelings for the older people, to develop the feelings that if you do something for the others, what kind of happiness you can achieve. That kind of feelings can only bring true elderly help for the elderly people. Nobody can force anybody. A particular, profession of a nurse or anybody for that kind of purpose, when you look at them, the different boys and girls have different kind of characteristics when they come to do the work. Some people are very, very, what do I say, helpful. By, by nature, that is their characteristics. They love to do it, so they do it. So I personally
Ma'am, can you
feel,
turn on your
feel
video?
that, pardon? Did you say
Can you turn on your video?
anything? Hello?
Ma'am, can you turn on your video?
Okay. Video to on one.
Yeah, fine.
Is it? Yes? Okay. So, I personally feel that that is the first characteristics which should be developed in the society, people in general. Because in the villages, situation for the older people is still worse. There are the time when they enjoy everything. They used to go to the field, they used to do their work till a very late years of their life. But once they are not able to do it, it becomes very difficult. Because as you know, most of the people, now as you know what is happening around us in our state, if you go to the, go to the flood affected area, that kind of problems these old people are going through. There was a time when I used to go for visiting these areas, so we could see that they need to be carried from one place to another. There were not sufficient help because people had a lot of problems. People have to start everything all over. So any kind of disaster, it is the older people they feel very bad about it because they become a kind of burden for the family. And as a result, actually, these people have some kind of mental, depression. As I know, as you know, all know, that depression is one thing which actually is one of the disease which is almost, I don't know exactly how many percentage of the people, but majority people are facing. And it is mainly because of the fact that they do not have anybody to listen to them because people are very busy. So what we need actually, because if you go back, you will see, you know about the Namghar. And when you read about Hankordev, when he first started his Namghar, he wanted his grandmother to open that Namghar. But the grandmother was refusing because she was a widow. Excuse me. So it is her, through her Sankardev says that whatever happens, you are not responsible for my grandfather's death. So you are going to open it because he was more a social reformer than that of a religious leader. So he started about the women's equality in that particular age itself. Therefore, what I feel is this: in the villages at one time through the Namghar, there was a lot of liberty for the women. But in course of time, ours is a patriarchal society. I told you about the Namghar, which was near my mother-in-law's house. And when you go to the Namghar, you will see that the whole Namghar, all the decision-making work is being done by the men, and all these manual works are done by the women. Similarly, there is a very big organization called Hongkor Hongho. In Hongkor Hongho, there are as many men, equal number of men and women who are members. Here again, they call them Aimatri. Very respectfully, women are actually, they are being called Aimatri. But when it comes to the decision, it is the men who decide what kind of mekhela sadar they will wear when they go to any kind of religious function, which is being held by the Sankar Sangha. So what I want to know, that patriarchy is very, very strong in all the Namghars all over the country, all over Assam, though Hongkordev was a social reformer and he believed in the equality of the men and women. But what is happening is the people in between. I am not blaming any of the men in particular. It is the social customs, it is the culture of the state, and due to all this combined together, what is happening is that actually that patriarchy is a very, very prominent feature in this religious organization. And therefore, it is difficult. But what someone has suggested, that can we improve that? It's a difficult work, but nevertheless, I think we can start, because it's very difficult to get into the organization of this particular Namghars and the way the meetings are being held, where the particular person, who are on the head of the Namghar, they, try to have a control. It is same, these kind of things happen in many, many places. But what we can say is, by meeting the people in the Namghar, maybe it will be possible for us to have some talk, because these Namghars also have provisions for training of the children in the different kind of Hotriya dance, and they have different kind of meetings. Many scholars come from the different places. But what is important, I think we should request them, we can do that by putting the gender aspect to this particular organization, so that women have an individual role to play, particularly in the decision making. So when you look at if you make a survey of all the Namghars in Guwahati, almost in every area we have a Namghar. But what we find is this: the patriarchal structure is there, and as a result of that, there is an inequality between men and women. But at the same time, I must talk about the kind of ladies club we have in different locality. I think that is a very positive aspect. Every week, one day, all the women of different ages meet. There is no bar. Many senior people, as well as, excuse me, younger ones join together. They discuss different matters. They play games. They actually, one of the members every week offers some snacks and tea. But usually, along with the snack, they organize for a very interesting game. So what I want to say is this, that actually, excuse me, actually, what they do is they, try to uh, try to organize the women of different age groups together. There are people who are above, 75 or below 80, and there are people who are good singer. There are people who are expert in different things. So they get a chance to express themselves. They get a chance to get together. And I think that is one of the most important requisite for women. Here I want to end up by saying, because I was working with Gyan Bigyan Samiti of Home in different parts of the state, I want to tell you an incident. I met a girl who is about 26 years old, and she has two children, one in her hand and one on her lap. Then I asked her, "What is your name?" She started sobbing. Then I got frightened. I asked her, what's wrong? Then she said that actually, for last 6 years after my marriage here, nobody has ever asked me my name. It is about 15 years back I'm talking about, because I'm being called by Kurido, Nobo, Mami, etc. So what she was trying to express, that she is almost losing her identity by getting involved in a family where she hardly has time to think about anything, and nobody actually called her by name. So what I want to say, that this is nothing great, you may be thinking, that if she is not being called by her name, but what I want to emphasize is this, that identity of the individuals in different interior villages, if you go through, you'll find out, excuse me, that it is a very, very difficult position. Then I'm talking about my days, long time back. When we went to a village, we used to call the women to get together. Then the women used to say that you must bring some gift for us. Then when we asked them, what is the matter? They said that if we go back, then the family members will ask, you went for a meeting, what did you get? But for men, there is no problem. But for a woman to walk out of the family, walk out of the house, doing nothing is a big problem. What I want to emphasize, that it is still, the situation is almost the same. There are people who are ignorant. There are people who have no independence. There are people who are unable to do what they want to do. There's a place called Modghoria village. It's just nearby. I usually go to that village, but in today's time, in the lockdown, as people are mostly laborers, the women also work along with the men. They have not been able to get anything, and they are almost getting without any food. So what I want to say, that women come out together and they say that what they want to do is that they want to help their husbands because they are very depressed and they are not being able to work. So I was asking them about the kind of free rice ration which were given to them. But there are still 1,000 houses in North Korea who do not have a ration card. So what I want to say is the position of the people, particularly why I'm emphasizing on the women, because they think they are responsible to offer food to their family. So the kind of
Yeah.
distress these people are having is actually, I mean, it's very, very, I mean, to think of it, you feel very unhappy. So why I have come to this position, there are a number of old people in that area also. Two women were old and had cancer, died within the lock-in period. And now it is much better. There are roads. But what I want to say that if we talk about the older generations, care of the elders, when we talk about the old age home, we talk about going into a transport bus in a wheelchair. But there are people who are also, there are a lot of older people who is to do work every day and earn, who have no children. They are going without food and suffering in today's world. So with this, I want to end up because I just want to listen to some of you. But what I'm saying is that only through the children, by socializing them about the humanness, by telling them that we can spare some of our things for the people who do not have anything, I think is the only way out, because the help with each other, because it takes a very long time to reach the government and get the help in return. Even for those people in the North Korea, it's the same
Yeah.
situation. So what we need is that bring up a group of children who will be aware about the world and who will actually save some money for them from a lot of things they can do without and create a better world. Thank you.
Okay, so now we will take up questions. So everyone, you can raise your hands and
Yeah.
uh, then we can take in the questions.
Um, Excuse me, ma'am. I'm Priyanshu
Yeah.
Kashyap. Yeah, I had a question for you. Like
Yeah.
you just said about old age home.
Yeah.
There are many old age home, but there is a kind of stigma behind a old age home that people say like only those, uh, I mean, those who are like separated from their kids are sent to the old age home. But there are many parents who really want to be with the people of their age
Yeah.
and have, yeah. So what do you have to say about that stigma?
Yeah.
Yeah, because stigma is there. As I said, when we went to visit them, we met mostly people who are, I mean, they wanted to emphasize. Here, I will tell you something else also. One day in the TV, one of our local channel, they were showing some people saying that this lady is being left in a, I mean, old age home by her son, or I don't remember exactly who it was, and made that particular lady, according to them, who is suffering, to talk about her experience over the TV in front of the people of Assam. What do you gain from it? My question is. So I was very, I mean, disturbed to see that. I said, this is not a situation which you expose to the people. If you want to teach a lesson to that particular person, you can call them and talk to them, find out the reason why they are doing that. And I mean, I'm talking about it. I'm saying that because I'm not all against the old age home. What I want for the old age home is a better situation. If some parents do not want to live in their house and they want company, what my idea was that when they live there, they should be able to live in a happier situation. So that stigma will no longer be there if they live happily if there are some areas when you go and visit them, people like me or my friends would like to spend a day with them, because we have a lot of people who are of equal age or same age as us, and we love to do that. So that stigma is because of the atmosphere when you suddenly go and visit them. I'm sure, as I told you earlier, that there are areas which is much better. I have heard about it, and I'll be very happy to see a happier old age home. I will never like to put them with stigma, because it is not a very easy job to set up a old age home and look after it, and fulfilling the interest of the different people. I understand there are difficulties, so I will not like to have a stigma to any of the old age home which is actually planned to do many good works for the older people. Anything you will say about it?
Ranshu, are you there?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I got
So
connected.
we had what do you call mother's home, Paul Aro Monica last week.
Okay. ठीक है सर.
So it was nice. They seems to have a I mean, people who were there, at least the older people, they were seems to having fun and enjoyed.
Okay.
And I think with minimum resources or whatever resources they have, I think they are doing a good job. Some
Yeah.
people basically said that they would rather stay over there than staying their own home,
Mm-hmm.
because at least they have company,
Yeah. Yeah.
rather than
That is
getting
very
alone.
important. Yeah.
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 So like as you said that we can like one of the vital part would be when we connect the like kids or the children of younger age with the elder people. Then they
Mm-hmm.
like, because this is somehow creating a social chain where the kids at a younger age realize like how they need to connect and what is the social standard, and they can willingly create a bond.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of activities do you suggest that we can kind of introduce to the kids, or maybe we can involve the kids with the elderly, because even kids are also feeling lonely. If I see the psychology, kids are also feeling lonely these days because parents are similarly busy with their work or maybe households. So in that way, if the kids can be kind of integrate, like if we develop an integrated system where the elders are also spending the time with the kids while the kids enjoy playing and they also learn, because elders have too many stories to tell.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this idea?
Yeah, it will be a very good idea if you can, start off with the storytelling, for example,
Yeah.
because kids love stories. I think every elderly people has their own folk stories or own kind of
Hmm.
stories in different ways. And there are people, particularly in the periphery of Guwahati, where they have actually people who write poems, people who write stories, and people who can talk about a lot of stories of their individual places. How did this place come into existence, and what exactly was the situation 20 years back, so on and so forth, because these will be all like stories for the children. I think
Yeah.
if we can connect them with that, and that will be a great idea. I think so.
So, like as you were saying about the the changes in the community, like the Namghar.
Hmm.
So, what kind of subtle changes can we add up in our system, which can be a kind of upgradation to Namghar? Because Namghar as a community has like came out very nicely.
Hmm.
So, if we kind of integrate some kind of changes and upgrade Namghar to a level, then maybe it can help us a great way. So, what do you think about that?
Actually, Namghars earlier used to be, even now in the villages, used to be in a particular place where
Yeah.
every village house was connected with it. They
Hmm.
used to go and clean, the women used to go and clean it, and they used to have fruits garden or the different kind of things in that particular area. So
Yeah.
it belonged to that area. So the difference between Namghar in the villages and Namghar in Guwahati, for example, we have a Namghar in Paltan Bazaar, which is very old, and then
Yeah.
they have a very big
Hmm.
area. It's a big building and all facilities are there. But the problem is the management,
Yeah.
because then every Namghar has also a lot of resources, because
Hmm.
usually they have a lot of contributions, and in Paltan Bazar Namghar there are place for guest house and all kinds of things are there.
Yeah.
But the management committee members comes from different areas. I personally feel, I may be wrong, because that particular kind of attachment what you have in a village to the Namghar is not much here.
Yeah.
And there are not a lot of competition and lot of money and lot of area in a commercial place like Guwahati. So it's becomes very difficult for those people to resist whatever gain they are having there, and so it's difficult. But there are other Namghars about whom I don't know in details. I think we can always try and ask them if the neighborhood children can come, and anybody from there, say the people, who actually read all these religious, scriptures, they can tell them lot of stories, because there are a lot of people who know about all these, religious organization. They know about Hankordev, they know about the
Yeah.
details of the why they have to do this dance and what is the meaning of this. I think even once in a week or once in a fortnight, if the neighborhood children, wherever it's possible, can come and sit and talk to them, I think they will also have an attachment to the Namghar. And as a result of them, it will be vice versa, and they should be able to do some more. That is what I feel. Yeah,
Yeah. Then like we can create some kind of event.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Say
So
I mean, in the next month, we are having some tithis for two Mahapurush, Hankordev and Madhavdev. But I don't think it will be possible. I don't know
yeah.
how it will be possible. But in schools in our days, we used to have essay competition to write on Hankordev. We
Yeah.
can request them to do that, or do a recitation, or sing a song which has been created by him, and so on and so forth. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like as Priyanshu was questioning them, like one of the major problem which comes in between is like when we actually approach people, like if you are interested to join a community or assisted living as an elderly, then like there is this social stigma which comes in between, is like, you know like, are the kids, I mean the children of those elderly people are not helping them off, or are they not readily taking the care? So how do we tackle that according to you?
Mm, about the old days, I didn't get your question properly.
It's like, when we actually approach elderly people, that we have an assisted living, a setup. So when we approach those people who are elderly, now the thing is that the problem comes in the society where they have raised a social stigma which says that, if the people that is the elderly, they are going for an assisted living, so they basically connect it with the point that, the the children of those elderly people are not taking their care. They're not taking the care of the parents. So how do we tackle that?
If the parents are willing, if they are
Yeah.
happier, do you think the stigma will make any difference? I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah.
if they are really willing and if they are happy there, I don't think there should be any problem in doing this, according to me. Provided the children become, children protest, or
Yeah.
we don't agree to send them over. Otherwise, I think there shouldn't be any problem.
Okay. So now we have Ilana for a question.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Yeah, I would like to come in and ask, is there any lawyer who specializes on elder law in Assam? Like, if my grandmother, she wants to file a case about assisted living facilities in Assam, uh, which lawyer should she approach?
Oh, I don't know about it. I have to find it. If you are interested, I can find it out.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So
I have a question. So since you are a modern Aita, so you are independent, you are fluent in English, you have your freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Even though you are a modern idea and you have all the resources, um, and you also have friends. So what I hear from you is that having like people like middle aged like us, we should be thinking about, and if you're growing up in Guwahati, you should think about stuff like book clubs, monthly book club, or some stuff like that, so that
Yeah.
we have friends whom we are meeting every month. We have each other, right?
Yeah.
That's, I think, one of the things. um but beside book club, what else you would like to see? You wish, like you talk about library.
Mhm.
What else do you look wish to have? A oldest facilities where you maybe, all the older people, your friends, all can get all together? Or do you wish to see a coffee shop which is specialized for elder people? Or do you wanted to see a TV serial or something which often addresses elderly issues, so that people can understand, or what dementia, Alzheimer,
Mhm.
or people get, so that younger people also getting prepared. In the Western world, they said that, enjoy life. After retirement, you enjoy life. In
Yeah.
India, you are retired, that means you are like ready to die. So, what is your point of view?
First thing, I think, I mean, what I'm emphasize is that you have to be financially well off for anybody, whether you get your pension, whatever, or whether you can do some other kind of earning. Because as long as you are financially independent, you have a lot of freedom. And of course, it will be very good to have something like you are talking about, a coffee shop or whatever, a place to get together where people can also pay a little bit of money for that. I mean, some kind of entry fees or whatever. And they can, I mean, other side, they can do a business by offering coffee, and I mean, by selling coffee, make some provisions that you also get a lunch, a simple lunch. You can come and spend the day, whole day with your friends. That can be, I mean, that I think will be a very good idea, because it looks like not most, but many people can afford it to have that kind of thing. Because usually, as I'm talking about my friends, we love to go out together. We do nothing but talk about our old days, school days, and things like that. So, what we need is a place which is clean, where they can give us either breakfast, I mean, not breakfast, that coffee or tea or whatever. And if ordered, for lunch, and so that we are free to talk and do things like playing a game. There can be small games like, I mean, carom or ludo or snacks or whatever. So I think that also will be a good idea. And I think at present time, I mean, there are a lot of facilities. If somebody even wants to do that for I mean, for the welfare of the old people, if they want to do it as a business, I think it will be both way useful, because that person can earn money by, I mean, who should be I mean, quite a difficult task though, looking for a house which is free and which is easily accessible, not anywhere up on the hills or anything of that sort. Easily with the transport communication, we can go there, and that will be a good idea for them. And when I'm talking about a book club, I'm not only talking about I'm talking about a book club of the whole family, where grandmother, parents, as well as children can go at the same time. And once a year or twice a year, they can have some sort of competition for the with the children, reading how many books they read and how much they can reproduce, so on and so forth. So we can think about many things when we have a book club. And we can also, if we have it in the neighborhood, if there is any neighborhood problems, for example, planting trees, many people who object to it, in the particular area, if you can plant some trees, and which will continue. If we can request people to, for the birthdays of the children, if they can plant a tree in the roadside, if each one of them do, I think we can see results in a very short time. So these, I mean, I'm not a modern Aita. I'm very much a Aita in true sense. But I mean, what I think is that actually, I mean, those grandchildren are also a source of happiness for the grandparents. And so we can also have a day when we have a get together with our grandchildren in that particular area, for that matter. এটা বেশি।
So like as you were talking about the people in the village, so like
Yeah.
so as you were talking about the people in the village, so the village setup is quite different from that of the cityscape. So what are the different the I mean what are different objectives we need to add when we go into the villages? Like there would be some kind of I mean subtle goals which are more to be I mean given more attention to, because when it's about villages the setup is quite different. So when we are talking about Guwahati, the setup is quite different. So when it goes back to village, so what do we else need to give attention to? Like these are the most things which need to be included back there.
As I'm talking about Modghoria, which is very near inside Guwahati itself. I mean, you have to climb up. There are roads now, but when we first went there were no roads. If you look at the school, there is an English medium school, but that school hardly does any teaching. People usually go there because they get the midday meal. So I do not know exactly, but the ways how actually you can, I mean, progress. So there are few women who are young women who are actually very enthusiastic to do things. But as I said, most of the people, not all, I mean, on the plains, the people who are there, they are well off. They are shopkeepers, or they are some government worker. I mean, they work as a government person, and so on and so forth. But usually, people who are living on top, I mean, they are organized in a way, but most of the people are very poor. Few of them are good, but most of the people are very poor. So you have to start from the beginning. So in these locked in days, we're thinking that if we can provide them some transport, I mean, not exactly a transport for them, but a bus who will drop them in Guwahati, some places from where they get their daily laborer's job. Because in that area, they cannot get the job all the time. I mean, that is the minimum we can do for them. Then, of course, the education of the child, they are, I mean, the women, I'm mostly meeting the women who get together. There was a time when they planted about 1,000 plants, and I think about half of them are there till now. But when we approach them, you have to call a meeting and you have to get them together. You are doing much more work than I do. But I think step by step, if you can progress, because there are a lot of enthusiastic women who I think will join you to do the work for betterment of that particular place.
So even in Guwahati, even though we have developed quite a while from the villages, how do you see the mobility for the elderly? Because still they are very, I mean, the standards are quite low when it comes to the mobility for the elderly or be it the differently able people. So how do you see that, and how can we upgrade in our setup?
That's what I was saying, that I used to be a morning walker for last more than 20 years. But of course, I have a big problem with my eyes. I don't see which one of my eyes actually. So I dare not go. But it's very difficult to go for a morning walk otherwise also, because I used to go very early, before 5 o'clock. But the way the cars speed up, it's very, very risky. And even now, two younger girls always go in the morning for a morning walk around 4:30. Tell you frankly, I feel very scared till my neighbors' girls come back. because I always want to see if they are safe when they have come back. I mean, that is the situation. So, I mean, a lot of provisions need to be done. Actually, I think police can help in that particular time. They can give at least for 2 hours or so duty so that children who go there are safe, or the older people, they can help in crossing the road or things like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, also mobility wise, people cannot afford to go get into a bus because I don't think anyone will stop or give them a hand to come up. I'm not very sure, but that is what my feeling is, and that is why people, they are not get into a bus or travel. They are mostly, I mean, particularly from the outskirts, they mostly stay at home only.
Policy
Um,
coming up, the new education policy, which kind of, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
so, in the US, a friend of mine, she's working on intergenerational schools
Mhm.
because in the Native American culture, the elders has lots of importance, and which has taken away by the you know white Americans, I guess. So now they're trying to get that back because they did the nuclear families, they saw many dysfunctional families, they saw lots of depression, down, or whatever, all kind of stuff. So now they are trying to go back and try to have an intergenerational school where they have elders, and elders and the kids are like together. The school has elder in that basically, and they realize that the kids can learn quite a lot from the grandparents. So many cases that is still the case in Assamese villages or in Gaon. And I was just thinking, and quite often I see that we Assamese or we Indian blindly follow Western culture sometime, and we already became a nuclear family and stuff like that. And how could we learn from others' mistake? They made the mistake, now they're trying to go back.
Mhm.
Good that we are behind, like Corona, we are a little bit behind. So, what could we do uh, so that we can keep our culture? Because otherwise, this whole nuclear family not necessarily really work.
Yeah, I mean, first we have to begin with our own language.
Yeah.
I mean, there are many parents who will not like, I mean, who likes to talk with their children in English.
Yes.
I mean, they are not very careful about our own language, and they, I don't know. It looks like to me sometimes when the parents speak to their children in English at home, I think, I don't know what they want to, what they are trying to do, but I feel very scared that there will be a time, particularly a certain percentage of the children in the city will lose their own identity by way of copying the Western world. I mean, in the dresses, in their talks, in the pictures, in the songs. I think new generation hardly have anything to do with their own songs, own literature, anything traditional. I mean, I suppose we need to try now how to develop that. And in the villages also, the message has to go that we are always better off when we, maybe with the new education policy, when we start off with their own own language, maybe we can expect them to go back to their own areas. I am not very sure how it is going to happen, but the message should go that we should learn English. There's no doubt about it, but we should not forget our own language, our literature, our poetries, our poets, our, I mean, there are so many people out there whom the new generation do not even know. So I think we should try to, I mean, I feel bad to give advice, because I always ask myself that what did I do throughout my life that I'm trying to tell you to do this or do that. But I think what you say about getting that together about the grandparents and the grandchildren and reviving whatever we have with us will be a great idea.
And one more question I had, I forgot what is the retirement age right now. Is it 60?
60.
Okay. So, 60 is new young, it's
Mm-hmm.
so many people, once they work and they retired,
Yeah,
they feel, no purpose, right? And
yeah,
that really deteriorate the health and it goes
yeah.
downhill. So how can the younger generation, all these younger kids are there, youth are there, how can younger generation also, um, get involved? What all ways that they can work with the elders, either, it may be paid job or without pay. I do not know, volunteer, I do not know, but what are the ways? Because you said that you have a group of friends, hang out. So can you suggest few of the things that you guys would have loved to do, and the younger generation could take your help?
Yeah, I mean, some of the things I don't know, but one thing I was interested, as I told you,
Yeah.
when we tried also didn't work out. Actually, I was not able to help you out. It's about the plantation, what we need most, and I think it's our what you call is the resource mapping of a place like Guwahati. There, if you go to the different places, if you when we see all the temples and all the different areas, what was the situation during the British period? What was the situation prior to that? So I think there's a material collection of these things by meeting people, taking out notes and reading into the library, because we still have many files in the different districts of Assam in the deputy commissioner with the deputy commissioner, collection of which actually can give us a very, I think, good picture of Assam before independence as well as immediately after independence. I mean, those kind of things can be done with the younger groups of the people. That is one of the thing, but I have not thought about it because I said the plantation. Then of course, as you all are doing about the cleanliness, if a group of people like our age is made responsible for cleaning up the area in which we live, I mean, all by yourself, they do not sort of listen to you. But if there is a group of people who sit together and meet the people once and ask for your help, I think people like us can look after that particular point. Yeah.
Okay, so we have another question from the audience. Yeah. So you can ask. I guess.
Himanshu, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, like as you have worked on these research of yours, so like with that research, do you have like any kind of more suggestions to us, like how we can incorporate? Like as we were initially planning and more thinking about the setup, we were trying to integrate different like age groups, be it the younger children or be it the elders and all. So like we can introduce more events and activities and stuff. So how like from your research, what kind of more strategies can you like enlighten us with, that we can use in our setup, that can make our setups more effective. As Millie said, that the Western people, they try to deploy the strategy, but the strategy has some kind of loophole. So what more kind of you can feed to our strategy so that our setups work more efficiently?
What kind of work you are talking about? I mean, dealing with these different groups of people.
Like, as we are trying to, because India is more of a collectivistic culture. So, but the thing is that with time we have been more inclined to the Western, and then getting busy around, that we haven't kind of being more collected in that risk, like in that part. So how do you see that we can deploy some strategies and our setup that we can kind of integrate all these together?
I think it will take a lot of time, like one-to-one talk and meeting them together in a particular place and talking to them what exactly is your aims and objects and activities. I think if not all, but there will be few people who will be willing to do that things. I mean, that is one thing I think, because when I was doing some studies with the conflict areas, and we used to bring the people from the both sides together, stay overnight, and in overnight people changes and they become friendly, younger generations, and they begin to talk about constructive things. So that is my little experience what we have when we are trying to introduce peace studies. So I have a very limited knowledge about it, but what I feel is that bringing people together and talking, and if possible staying overnight, eating together, sharing together, they change overnight. I mean, they actually realize that this is not what should have happened and this is what exactly we should do. I mean, that is one thing I experienced with actually, both with the children as well as women, because the women from two different groups, or for the immigrant Muslims and the Boros, they were fighting with each other, bring them over, stayed in a hotel. We had workshop for 3 days. When they went home, you should see them crying over with each other because they didn't want to live with each other.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us your suggestion and sharing your experience. Like, this can really help us to understand more about the thing, and now we have more kind of awareness and ideas which we can implement and integrate with our previous setup. So thank you so much for coming here and joining us, and thank you everyone for attending the webinar. So now we end it up here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Udi?